Hello and welcome to the Quincy Access Television Studios. I'm Mark Crosby. Welcome to Good Deeds, your Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. Joining me today to talk about statistics, looking at the year to date, is the Register of Deeds here in Norfolk County. That would be Bill O'Donnell. Bill, I want to welcome you back.
Mark, thanks for having me. And it's again, the Registry of Deeds is an arm of government that is located physically in downtown Dedham, Massachusetts, at 649 High Street, across from the domed Superior Court. The registry has been in Dedham since 1793, and all the community land records are recorded there. They've been recorded there since 1793, and we deliver services a little differently. We still record them physically. We still print books, much like they did back in 1793, but we also have the images available through our website at www.norfolkdeeds.org. And you mentioned statistics. It's been very, very busy at the registry.
Which I think since the beginning of the year, people have been hearing that home sales are up.
And yes, and it will be borne out in the statistics. It's been tremendously busy. And people are kind of putting COVID and the pandemic in the rearview mirror, hopefully. But when you look at these statistics, I have to applaud. We have a great team at the registry, a team of employees, great workers. They take pride in their work. And I certainly recognize and applaud their efforts, because you're going to see it was a busy time during a pandemic when the registry operations stayed open. We were open operationally every workday during pandemic, and that's because of the employees. And I think it was important because the registry, although an arm of government many people might not know about, really plays a vital role in the real estate economy, in the real estate sector of our region here. And that's a very important part of our economy. And I want to thank the employees. And it was good. D'Angelo's gave them recognition during the pandemic. D'Angelo's had an Everyday Heroes program where they recognized groups that were doing exemplary service during the pandemic, community groups. And I was so happy that the employees got recognized outside the registry for something I see them do every day in the registry. And so to show you about the statistics.
And we should mention that part of the reason why sales were so healthy was low interest rates.
Oh, and definitely low interest rate. There's still a demand. The communities in Norfolk County are vibrant communities. People want to live in these communities. People want to live in Norfolk County. So there is quite a demand for housing in Norfolk County. And that, coupled with the low interest rates, as you point out, certainly has driven the success or the great statistics that we're going to hear about in the real estate sector here in Norfolk County. For instance, total documents recorded, and again we looked at January 1st to June 30th. Well, in 2020, they were 74,961, and remember, in calendar year 2020, we recorded over 179,000 documents. But again, in 2021, January 1st to June 30th, 2021, there were 103,023 documents, or an increase of over 28,000 documents, and that's a 37% increase from the 6-month period in 2020 to the 6-month period in 2021. And again, it shows a great activity. And I'm not saying we're going to double the statistics, but if we did, you're breaking 200,000 documents recorded at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds, which brings us back to the go-go years of 2002, 2003, 2004, where we were having a tremendous amount of documents being recorded at the registry, and to be potentially into the 200,000 documents shows you how busy the registry is and how busy the real estate economy is in the 28 communities that make up Norfolk County. And you pointed out low interest rates, and we should look at sales. Sales are reflected in deeds. Deeds are a document that gets recorded. When I bought a house, a deed got recorded from the seller's name to my name. And the total deeds recorded in 2020 for that 6-month period of January 1st to June 30th was 7,502. And in 2021, it was 9,889, or almost a 2,400 increase in deeds being recorded, and that's 32% year over year from the 6-month period in 2020 to the 6-month period in 2021. And you're correct to point out that, as we've mentioned, there's been a demand for housing. The interest rates are comparatively competitive, comparatively low. And I think that has also driven the market. And anecdotally, brokers, real estate brokers and professionals that we speak to say that at times, if the property's priced right, there could be 5 or 6 people or groups competing for the sale and driving the price up where the prices are going for over asking. And that's actually reflected in the sale price. We do the average sale price residential and commercial, so it kind of blurs together. But the average sale price for 6 months in 2020 was $824,714, and in the same 6-month period from January 1st to June 30th in 2021, it was $968,000, or $143,000 increase, or up 17%. So it shows that prices are going up in Norfolk County, and it's going up in part because of the demand and, as I said, the vibrancy of the communities that make up Norfolk County. The other part of this document volume is mortgages. Mortgages, we all have to borrow money. We have to borrow money to buy the house. That drives up the mortgage numbers. But a lot of people, because, as you mentioned, the competitive interest rates are refinancing. They might be refinancing because, well, maybe they can't afford to make a move, so they're using the equity in their house and they're putting an addition on. Or they might be trying to pay down some debt, or take some years off their mortgage, or they might have children in college where or other obligations that they're refinancing to try to meet those obligations. But when you look at mortgages in 2020, January 1st to June 30th, it was 19,019 mortgages, and in 2021 it was 26,042, or an increase of 7,023, or a 37% increase in mortgages. So we're seeing again great activity. And why would people refinance? Well, we know why they're motivated to do it. People need money for different things, but the interest rates are competitive, and I think that's what's driving it. The other good news is that foreclosure deeds, and again, the registry's only involvement is by law when at the beginning of the process, if you're being foreclosed on, the lender has to record what they call a notice to foreclose. And then sometimes people get themselves out of it. Sometimes they get a broker and sell the house before the property gets foreclosed on. And at the end of the process, we'll see a foreclosure deed. When the litigation is over and maybe the lender has foreclosed, they record a foreclosure deed. Well, they're down as well. We've seen foreclosure deeds over that 6-month period down 68%, and notices of foreclosure, which is the first part of the process, are down 59%. But the Registry of Deeds has partnered up with some great nonprofit groups. If you go to our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org, you can you may get in touch with the Quincy Community Action Program. Although centered in Quincy, they've committed to help people in all the communities in Norfolk County, as has the NeighborWorks Housing Solutions, which again, these nonprofit groups give assistance, they give guidance, they give counseling, and if you are or know someone facing foreclosure, it would behoove you get advice and counseling sooner. And these groups give credit counseling as well. So they're great nonprofit groups. They provide great service to struggling people. So even though we're talking about some great numbers, there are some folks that are struggling. So get the help. And we also on our website have links to the Massachusetts Attorney General's office, Maura Healey's office, which has some programs for people struggling for foreclosure. And again, on a positive note, on our website, we have information for first-time home buyers and for the happy times, people that are trying to buy a house, or maybe you bought a house 30 years ago and you're buying a new house, and it would be a way to refresh on what's going on as a new home buyer.
I know with the pandemic and employers and employees not going to work every day in some instances, do you feel that in the not too distant future that's going to reflect, that the foreclosure numbers will reflect the pandemic at all?
Certainly there are some industries that are struggling, but I thought there might be a pent up, because for a while there was a moratorium on that, and I thought, well, the numbers may go up, but it hasn't borne out yet. But there are some segments of the economy that struggled and are struggling or have struggled during the pandemic. Maybe they're coming out of it now, and maybe there won't be an uptick in foreclosures. But clearly, clearly the pandemic has affected employment and has affected some segments of the economy.
We should mention that there was government assistance out there.
And that may have been timely and helped spin the way out of the negative consequences of really shutting down an economy. It's funny you mentioned remote. I mean, again, the registry is operational. Our doors are open. We were operational since Governor Baker declared the COVID emergency. Believe it was back on March 10th, 2020. And actually, Governor Baker, in one of the orders, declared the Registry of Deeds people as essential services. They were specifically written in. So we've been operational. We've stayed open. But we are physically now open to the public. We did that back in the spring. And we did that, we still have used some of the things that we did in COVID. For instance, we still have a drop-off box because some people still are not comfortable coming into a building. All we ask is if you're unvaccinated to wear a mask. But slowly but surely we're getting things going. And our customer service center is open. It has been open all during the pandemic. The telephone number is 781-461-6101. So if anyone have questions, we try to do it the old-fashioned way, have a voice on the phone that can hopefully help you out with some questions that people may have. Or if people want to come by the registry, they can. But and the whole pandemic thing may be one of the reasons we see increased demand, because people were working remotely in other industries, and now they're not tied to that community that's close to their business. They can maybe move out further to other areas of Norfolk County where, before you needed, the commute was a big thing, you need to be close by. I think a lot of businesses are re-looking at, remote work and maybe realizing, hey, we can still do a quality job but have people work remotely. And therefore, I think that has helped some of the other maybe outlying communities in Norfolk County where you're not tied to being close to Boston or close to a metropolitan area. You can be further out because you don't have to, commute every day.
True. Good point. One of the releases that is recent was a July 4th greetings from the Registry of Deeds, and that simply says what you have been referring to. The county opens up.
Yeah, the county's opening up and the country's opening up, and I write those articles, but I'm always kind of proud about July 4th because there were 4 presidents. Amongst all these deeds, which is business, there's a lot of history in Norfolk County, and there were 4 presidents who were born and lived in Norfolk County. And the first, who was the second president of the United States, John Adams, I'm always, and I mentioned in the article, he had the vision. He said when the Declaration of Independence and all this was going on, that the country would celebrate it with fireworks and bonfires and parades, and it was almost, I just found it remarkable that he kind of predicted how America would celebrate 4th of July and how we celebrate it, here all these years later. So yes, the country's opening up, and hopefully this past 4th of July was certainly the little things that we don't always take for granted, whether it was going to a cookout or running a road race or watching a parade or going watching a community fireworks, that we got to do some of that again, and that's a good thing.
I think when I held up the release, I didn't have my glasses, so I read it as the county opens up. It was the country opens up, but obviously the county as well.
And yes, and the registry is, it has been working, but now we're opened up physically now for people to come in. And it's funny, the way we do things, because people were afraid of contact, and there were restrictions. We got legislation passed in 2017 for electronic recording. And we've been doing electronic recording at the registry before that, but the legislation used Norfolk County and a couple of other registries as a pilot program to do electronic recording in the land court. Well, good thing we have that, and not every registry does, because people could then, there were closings taking place in Bellingham or Quincy or any of the 28 communities. And sometimes these closings take place down the Cape, even though they're for Norfolk County properties, and they can transmit the documents electronically. It's been authorized by the state government. It's been authorized under federal law. And what we saw before COVID was on the recorded land side, it was around 50%. On the land court side, it was like 25%. Well, now we're taking those documents, probably 80 to 90% of the documents, I should say 80 to 85%. Sometimes it gets higher, are coming in electronically on both sides of the registry for both land, whether it's recorded land or registered land. So again, there were things that were done out of necessity because of the pandemic. I certainly did electronic recording because I thought it would make the registry better. I never had any thought that, wow, we need to do it for a pandemic. We do a lot of our modernization initiatives to make the registry better, but good thing we had these in place for the pandemic, and now that the pandemic hopefully is being put behind us, you can see people are using these advances in technology to deliver, services to the people that use the registry uses, and the real estate professionals and the real estate economy.
And that brings me to technology and the importance of really being up to date at the Registry of Deeds and utilizing technology, being made aware of, especially you and I discussed this prior to the cameras rolling, of technology being tampered with, and the ability for an organization to notice and do away with those kinds of threats.
There's, we pride ourselves over the years at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds, the cornerstone, we've done nothing but try to implement modernization initiatives, from just the whole notion of a website and email. People forget back a while ago, when all this started. And then it moved to, hey, wait a minute, why don't we bring the registry into people's homes and businesses and have internet land record research? And you slowly but surely use technology to do that, to the point we talk about statistics that are happening today, but images. We have over 15 million documents recorded in image, so they're available. You can look up any document back to 1793. And some of those old documents that were handwritten, we have transcribed. And there's over 45 million pages of images that are in the Internet Library. Well, that's technology. We've made available the Consumer Notification Service, where people can sign up and get an email so that they can watch and see if anything is recorded on their property. It didn't prevent any fraud, but at least it gives them notice. So all this technology that we've been put in place was to deliver services in a better way. And recently, at the county, the Registry Chief Information Officer, and we've had a funded position for over 20 years, and in 20 years I've only had 2 Chief Information Officers. Well, the last Chief Information Officer, he's been there 13 years, he's retiring. Well, the personnel papers for the succeeding Registry Chief Information Officer wasn't signed in a 2-to-1 vote. And I'm really troubled because I think it was an unsound decision, a poor policy, because the modernization initiatives, the foundation of it has been technology. The Registry Chief Information Officer, and that's the person that's head of the IT department, and we only have 2 people in the department. We're lean, and we got to make things work with 2 people. They've overseen the implementation of all this technology that the lawyers rely on, that the title examiners rely on, that the engineers rely on, that builders who are looking up for properties, or real estate professionals, the real estate brokers rely on, and that just regular folks rely on.
Well, in this day and age right now, with the amount of hacking that is going on, security is a big issue.
So for me, there's 2 aspects of this. It's the delivery of services, I think, is going to be impacted, and not impacted in a positive way, when you don't have a Registry Chief Information Officer. And as someone tasked with running the registry, I've prided myself on running the registry like a business, and it really troubles me in this era of cybersecurity risks, in this era of cybersecurity intrusions, not to have a Chief Information Officer who and again, you could have the best Chief Information Officer, and we have had our registry systems tested by consultants, and I remember what they said: it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's when. Well, knock on wood, it hasn't happened, but it hasn't happened because we've had a Chief Information Officer in place for 20 years, and I don't like increasing the odds of bad things happening, not only to the users of our technology, but you got to remember, we talked about these statistics. I can tell you, we're just closing the books for fiscal year 21. Deeds excise alone, we collected over $54 million. That's not counting other transaction fees or other fees, for instance, Community Preservation Act money that goes back to the local communities in the form of the projects there. And 90% of that deeds excise money goes to the state and comes back in the form of local aid, aid to public safety, to education, to public service programs. So to me, I'm really troubled given the volume of what we do, the services we deliver, and the monies that we collect, that not by a 2-to-1 vote, it's the first time in my tenure that I've had a personnel paper not signed and defeated when it should be, in my opinion, because I think it's just poor policy, and I think common sense. I mean, I try to approach government with common sense. In this day and age, what business doesn't have a Chief Information Officer to oversee things and not only protect the money? We're talking about records. We're talking about title. Think about it. It's the records at the registry are the title to your property, and the biggest asset most of us have is our homes, and it's just exasperating, it's perplexing, and I'm passionate about it. I don't understand the rationale and the benefits of not having a personnel paper signed for a Registry Chief Information Officer.
Is there a recorded loss somewhere else that is bringing the spotlight on what is being spent?
No, it's not so much being spent. We have a pretty vigorous budget process, at the county. Everyone does. The local government, the local communities go through a process. So our, fiscal 21, the position was funded, and in fiscal 22, which started July 1st, the position is funded. So we went through a budget process.
The money is there.
The budget process started in February. There was no discussion about not having a Chief Information Officer or cutting a position or anything like that. And so anyway, sometimes I go back to my days of working for Congressman Moakley, where government, you try to do the right thing. I worked in the district attorney's office where, it's a government job, but, you're prosecuting cases, trying to help out victims and do the right thing. And sometimes government, it doesn't always go easy, so we'll keep working on it.
Very good. As we close this particular program, again, just to give out some general information for folks throughout Norfolk County to get in touch with the Registry of Deeds.
Sure. Well, clearly in this day and age of technology, the website, www.norfolkdeeds.org. There's a lot of great information on the website, and also you can use that as the portal to go into the research component of and look up the registry deeds and records. The customer service department, again, we're at 649 High Street. You're welcome to come by in Dedham, Massachusetts, but you can call them at 781-461-6101, and we have staff and resources there to help you with questions, whether you got a homestead recorded or a mortgage discharge. Has it shown up at the registry? Is that recorded? Or any other questions you may have. At least, hopefully, you can get some help. And feel free to email me at registerodonnell, ODONNELL, at norfolkdeeds.org.
I will mention as we close that this program has become quite popular in Norfolk County and beyond the county as well, with some of the topics that we have discussed in the past. The most recent program, Genealogy and Genealogical Research. I actually received a compliment from one of our residents here in the city that enjoyed watching the program. So kudos to you.
Oh, well, again, thanks to you, Mark. Thanks to Quincy Access for putting this on, and thanks for the people just tuning in. Hopefully, we provide some relevant information. And as I said, I recognize the registry is an arm of government people may not know much about, but there's so much that the registry deals with, whether it's our homes or history, genealogy, and it's a great service that you and the production team does in getting this information out. And again, thanks to the people that watch.
Well, thank you for realizing the importance of doing a program like this and coming into the studios to get the word out.
Well, again, thank you very much.
And thank you at home for watching. And please continue to watch your local access station for more community-related programming.